I know that some of you may have grown really tired of these analogies, but I'll continue with them. I got to know your mom, my wife, your mom, at a party. Things happened, eventually had sex. I wasn't ready for it. Then we had you. I tried my best, man, but at the age of 18, I had to drop out of school, get a job at In-N-Out, and then Home Depot. I sit back and I look at my life and I hate it. These are things I never asked for, and yet I'm responsible for them. I try not to show too many negative emotions, but see, what usually happens is this. This is me, right? I begin to think about my life. And my thinking leads me to some disturbances. Things are not very comfortable. I try to fix the waves. I can't. They lead to frustration. I try to fix the frustration because I certainly don't want to come home. You're saying, Dad, let's go to the park. And then I slap you or dismiss you. And that's exactly what has happened. For the past 18 years, you come to me, you say, let's go to the park. I say, get lost. And now I'm dying. And then your question is, I hate my father. He's never been there for me. And he wants me to clean him. Should I be responsible for that? Right? Let's just say that's your question. Okay. You're 18. Are you single? Do you have a child? Do you work 3 jobs? Do you pay rent? You're a free man. See, I didn't have that privilege. At the age of 18, I was burdened to carry a life I didn't ask for. Remember this, Alex, I know the dog is cute, but I'm cuter. Disturbance, I'm trying to figure things out. I can't, lead to frustration. You know what frustration is? What is it that all of us in this class desire to have? Control. All of us in this class are desiring to have control. You're in class for one reason. Graduate. Make money so you could have power over life. Where to live. Okay, what restaurants you can go to. They require power. Okay. The moment there is a disturbance, you say, do I have the power to get rid of this? And you realize you don't. And then it blossoms into frustration. Now, you don't need to have money. If you have friends, you go to your friend and say, I'm frustrated. What the hell do I do? And if you got incompetent friends, you realize once in a while that you got no friends, man, at all. They're good for drinking and watching football, but when it comes to serious aspects of life, they're completely useless. When you become frustrated, you get great many moments of what we call anxiety. Ray? How are you? Man, it's been a few years. Are you good? You look good.
Thank you.
San Francisco finished?
Technically, yes. Not my bad.
Okay. It's good to see you. Ray, right? You have the mask. I don't want to... Yeah, Ray, okay. It's good to see you, Raymond. All right. Leads to anxiety. All right? Depending on what this is, because, emotions can live at the very surface of who you are, or it can be at the very core of who you are, which we call trauma. Okay? When this continues over and over and over again, then you become angry. because you feel and see a lot of disturbances. You feel and see a good amount of frustration. You feel and see a good amount of anxiety. You have no power to control any of this stuff. And your life is going all over the place. No one likes you. You can't be around anyone. You've tried explaining, but language falls short. And even if you're very eloquent in language, no one can really understand you in the sense that no one can feel you, empathize with you. So your anger even grows more. Now, this can go two ways. It can become internal or it can become external, in the sense that it just lives inside you and it leaks everywhere. It's like when we went to In-N-Out yesterday. We sat there for about maybe 40 minutes. When we come out, everything smells like In-N-Out. So sometimes when I walk into a classroom, I look at a student and I say, oh my God, they are just filled with anger. I don't look at them. I don't use them in any of my stories. I just try not to be around them at all, because I know at any time they could blow up. If you don't have the proper equipment or tools to just keep the stuff to yourself, a couple of things happen. It becomes external. You become abusive to your kids, to your wife, or to your husband, or to people around you close, or you go on a mass shooting. So when, for example, you say, Amir, my dad, I'm not going to come help you because you were never there for me. And this is what I'm going to tell you. I asked for a life that didn't belong to me. I have a life that didn't belong to me. I didn't ask for it. I tried to fix it. I couldn't. Frustration came over. I didn't have the tools to control it. I became anxious. Then you begin to hate everything about your life. Hate eventually turns into anger. Anger turns into rage. See, now that I've explained my history to you, are you going to come wipe my ass? You understand me now, don't you? See, if you don't have this picture, the idea of you reading a book and all of a sudden saying, I want to overcome anger, it's never going to happen. It's impossible. Without understanding things at their very core, it's really, 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 really difficult. You can't manage anything. Now, a couple of things, Alex. You could have spent the next 10 years of your life reading books, listening to audios to figure this out, or you could have just signed up for this class for me to tell it to you in a very abstract way in 10 minutes. What you now have is a map. This is a shortcut. I've saved you about 20 years. I've also saved you from you acting in a certain way that will eventually cause regret, remorse, shame. Okay? This is Raymond. He was probably in my class, 10 years ago? From day one, you know what I told him? Get it done. Get out Laney. Take all of my classes. Get the units. Get the hell out. This is not about you, Ray. Okay? Delay. Now he's 32. Does he have a bachelor's? The answer is no. What kind of a job he has? I don't really know. How much is he making? $20 an hour. Do you know how much rent is in Oakland? So when someone is making $20 and someone is 32, how much power do they have? And if you don't have very much power in life, what exactly are you in control of? And life being difficult It pushes you around all the time, which means what? You're always disturbed, always frustrated, always anxious, always hating, and always angry and enraged. And if that is what America is all about, why the hell would you want to walk the streets every day? Now, how does one begin to think well? I'm sorry, Russell, you had a question?
I had a question.
Sure.
If you notice somebody who is doing that right there, that is, well, my wife, basically, she got pregnant very young, all those, now she's very, is there anything that you can do for that person, whether it be somebody that you, significant other, or friend, or whatever like that? Because usually that is internal, so therefore anything that someone else does is kind of like you rid or basically I just don't know what to do. Because I learned that a couple of years ago. By the other person.
Okay. There are a couple of things. You know, when you keep replaying certain emotions and thought patterns, what you have is an addiction. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, porn, hanging out with the same group of people, it matters very little. Addiction is addiction. Addiction contains a history that for the past 10 years you've been drinking. Okay, 10 years. That's a very strong and intense relationship. And like all relationships, it's very difficult to walk away. Because what you're saying is, I want to divorce this. It's not possible because you have a history. History creates narratives. Narratives are, for the most part, psychological. Okay? And they give birth to identity, to meaning, to purpose. You say, for example, I am angry. But pay attention. With my anger, I will control you. I will abuse you. And that gives me power. That gives me identity. That gives me meaning and purpose. So even though I say I want to get over anger, get rid of anger in my life, the truth is, without it, I will not have identity, meaning, or purpose. Okay? There are these moments I say, I don't want it. But those are inspired moments. Inspired moments have no element of commitment in them. So what you're saying is, how does one get rid of anger, for example? The first thing that you need to understand is that there's a history involved. And history creates a good amount of value. Doesn't matter if it's bad. I was going to go to World War II, but I'll refrain. Now, in telling someone that you are angry and you need to change, what you're asking, first of all, is, here you are, okay? You need to look up and see this inside you. The assumption is that if you see that you are angry, you have the capacity to receive it and embrace it well. And the truth is, it's not. It's not true. It's always going to be difficult realizing certain truths about yourself. And remember, when you see the truths about yourself, you're not going to think about them. You're going to feel them. And it's going to take you some time to adjust to the feeling. Because instead of now being connected to this emotion called anger, you have to somehow have a relationship with you seeing yourself angry. That takes some time to digest. Anger is a very, very powerful emotion. To understand it, you have to step out. You know, it's like you go out there, you play. You know, the idea of baptism. Imagine that you've been working in your backyard the entire day. Your hands are dirty, your feet are dirty, everything about you is dirty, and your wife calls and says, food is ready. What do? Well, you're not just going to go sit at the table the way you are. You take a shower, you clean up, then you go sit. What you're saying is you want to eat what we call anger. You want to digest it. You want to process it. You want to understand it. But the way you are dirty. It's impossible. You need to clean yourself. How do you clean yourself? Well, first, see what exists inside you. It's going to take you some time because seeing how angry you are is going to make you doubly angry. Try not to react. Initially, ultimately what you're asking is, how does one change? I don't know. I think all of us in this class have the desire to change. Whether or not we have the capacity, that's a different story. Change is kind of like you want to move out of Oakland and go to, say, Montclair. It's a great desire. You want to change, but you need money.
That pretty much is
It's not hopeless.
right. So like no one else can make you see friend or whatever you like kind of angry, and this is probably even why. Like there's nothing that you can do on the outside for that person.
We have a saying in Persian that the only job any good parent has really is to keep repeating to their kids, go to school, go to school, go to school, go to school. They're not going to listen, but just keep telling them. At a certain point, it's going to kick in. When that point is going to be, no one really knows. Let me tell you this story. Do you have time? Being young, having children, 4 of them, it's just a tough place to be.
Because my PTSD, we had counseling, so I got to see myself afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell her.
No, you don't want to do that. Janae?
My name is.
Sure.
I was in a relationship with my. You get angry, and my father made the suggestion to report him, so he can see himself. Like we're just saying, you have to see yourself angry. You have to see. People can tell you all day that you're upset, and you lie to yourself. You're in denial. So if you show her, like, look, this is what it looks like on the outside.
Ivy?
Aging Bull, and the boxer that about Jake LaMotta, he said that the process constantly.
Yeah, these are actually good points. Yeah. Nayan?
I don't know how you're going to go about recording them, but I wouldn't say just pull out a camera.
That's true too.
And then also if you set up the camera, I feel like either way.
There is a story in the New Testament, I think it's the Gospel of Matthew, It's called The Prodigal Son. Some of you in this class may have read the story, and you probably know the story better than I. It's about this father who's got two kids. One is older, one is younger. The young son goes to the father and says, "You're going to die, and you're going to leave me like $50,000. Instead of waiting to give me that money, give it to me now." And the father says, "Okay." What's interesting, the story has more to it, but let's just stop there. You know, the father doesn't debate with the son. There is no dialogue, just as fine. Fathers are usually quite wise, at least in the story. It's 2,000 years ago. It's a small village. And you have to ask yourself, why is it that the father is so readily just saying yes? Why? Because what the father knows is that you can't really have conversations with young people. If they say they want to do something, they're just going to do it. As a father, you get a couple of options. You could fight them, and then when you go to sleep, they're going to just jump out the window and go do what they want to do. You know? Or you can just let them do it, but keep an open door policy. And that's exactly what the father did. So the son goes out, spends all of the money. I mean, this is something that the father knows. Young people don't know how to value money. Young people don't know how to value youth, how to value energy, how to value dreams and hopes and goals. Young people just are not equipped to know what to do with those things. Okay? So the son goes away, spends, wastes all the money. When he's got nothing left, he's sleeping in some stable with the dogs and the cats and the cows. And then he says, maybe I should go back home. And he does. And the father receives him really, really well. Your wife is rich with anger. There is nothing you can do until she spends that richness. When that's going to happen, no one knows. How she's going to spend it, no one knows. What devastation is going to be brought by her expressing the anger, that remains to be seen. It may be profoundly devastating to you, your children, your life. No one knows. But here's what the son did. While he was spending it, he wasn't reflecting. He wasn't thinking. When he became really, really poor, that poverty pushed him into thinking, the hell have I been doing? My father, money, prostitution, drinking, smoking, spending on my friends, and now look, what I have, nothing. I got no friends, I got no money, I got no place to live. Shame, guilt, remorse. And he walks back to the father with humility. And how is this humility reached? I thought I knew how to spend my money. I don't. The tragedy for the father, very much like the tragedy for you, is that you can't but sit back and watch your father or your mother or your wife or your kids spend their riches in a negative way. It's going to impact you. And you just hope that they'll begin to think about everything that they've been doing. And soon repentance, humility will come their way. But you can't make the grass grow by pulling it. It doesn't really matter. Assalamu alaikum. Thursday is good. I like Ray. I can't tell you how many times I've said to him, stay in school. But as you said, it's something that he himself needs to get. When he will get it, no one knows. But I'm always happy to see him. Always. I have told him and other people about the viciousness of this culture, how nobody has anybody, the importance of money, the importance of education, not because you guys learn anything in this class, but because eventually it gets you a good job and it gives you a paycheck, which you need. You know? But like all of us, we're addicted to certain ways of thinking and it's difficult to change. Do you have any other questions? We have time for a Abby.
Do you think a lot of people are scared about their true identity?
I don't know what you mean by true identity. If by true identity you mean when I was 4, I came to realize that I was born in the wrong body, for example, but because I love my parents, because I love, say, the religion, because I love my society, because there are not too many people like me in my culture, I'm not going to come out. Okay. Yeah?
I think, like for me, whenever I'm like alone and I like myself alone, I don't know myself. So I think she senses. Right. But anyways, so I think that's what that, like, they don't know that like. But yes, so like they don't know themselves from anger. So like, me when I'm alone, I don't know myself.
Okay. So here's the thing you need to, I'm going to use an example that comes from India. Right, Satya? What do you mean? When I say India, you should just know it. So they have this story, oh, forget that. You have an onion. You've seen onions, right? So how many layers of onion are in an onion? Let's just say there are 50. So in Hinduism, it's argued that when you're 4, you think you are Batman. Let's just say that's one layer. Okay. When you're 6, you think you're, I don't know, Superman. When you're 10, you think you're Mozart. When you're 20, you think you're your father. Then you get to be 50, and you've gone through so many layers, you've come to realize you are actually nothing. The Hindus argue this is who you are. You're not your gender, you're not what society tells you, you're not what education tells you, you're not what your parents tell you. So what essentially they're saying is that in the course of one's life, you keep getting peeled. And as this peel goes away, you say, I'm not this after all. I'm not that after all. Okay? And it becomes a bit more esoteric, a bit more complicated, because they argue that you have to live in that nothingness for a long, long time for you to ultimately realize who and what you are. We don't want to go there just yet. But here is what I will tell you. Have you ever been in love? Abigail, have you? You sure? Let's just say you're right. Okay, fine. So what happens when you fall in love? Don't tell me because I'm going to tell it to you. What happens is you look at Ray, you like him, but you keep texting your friends, you hang out with your other friends. Once in a while, you text him as well. As the relationship between you and him grows, you text your other friends less. And as you begin to really, really like Ray, you wake up in the morning and you say, Ray, I wonder what he's doing. And then you sit in this class, you pay attention for like 10 minutes and you say, I wonder where Ray is. And then you've eaten a lot of food in the bathroom, just dumping your stuff, and you say, I wonder how Ray bathrooms. And then there comes a point where you really, really feel as if you just love him. Your friends call you, you don't pick up. You lock yourself in your room because what you want to do is you want to be with Ray. There is something about Ray and his presence that make your life magical. No Ray, no Abby. No Ray, Abby hates herself. No Ray, Abby has no fun. No Ray, Abby is miserable. No Ray, your self-hatred just grows. And the trick is this: find someone who physically, intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually dazzle you. What you have is Costco. And you know what happens when you fall in love with Ray? Now, I know you're allergic to tomatoes. You don't like pizza. But if Ray says, let's go to Domino's and have pizza, you say, yeah, God damn it, let's go have pizza. In love, you will begin to sacrifice and you will begin to change. Find someone who is mature. And it doesn't matter if they look ugly on the outside, because what time does is blinds you to how they look, because you have found something else that's attractive that's in the inside. I mean, it's a really, really profound philosophy that comes out of Christianity, that in everyone lives a kingdom of God. I mean, just think about it. He is an ugly looking man. It's just, right? But when he opens his mouth and he speaks, you say, oh my God, it's really, really interesting the way he says this, the way he thinks about that. And all of a sudden, you didn't know you had the capacity, but all of a sudden you realize you have the capacity to no longer look at his exterior. Now you look at the way he thinks. And it becomes so blossomed inside you that even physically he becomes attractive. And you take him home to meet your mom, and your mom says, oh no, ugly, ugly, ugly. You say, oh mom, just wait. Just wait until he opens his mouth. Ask him a question. And your mom says, so Ray, what do you do? And he says, Mrs. So-and-so, what do any of us do? and your mom says, oh my God, Jesus Christ. So, there is this guy, Britain Got Talent. There is this guy, his name is Maxwell something. Go on YouTube and just type Maxwell, Britain Got Talent. It's this 32-year-old guy who just stands in the streets and sings, opera. He's not very attractive, okay? But then he begins to sing. Oh man. I mean, it's something to just sit back and observe and just see what happens to you. It's an incredible sight and experience. That there is something about you and I that has the capacity and the power to overcome the senses. And the moment he sings, he becomes attractive, body, mind, and soul. Find someone like that. And your self-hatred over time will decrease. You know why? Because you want to be like them. Instead of hanging out with your boyfriend, read the Old New Testament, the life of Jesus Christ. And you don't have to be religious, but how could such wisdom come out of the mouth of a human being? And then try to live it. The point I'm trying to make is find yourself a hero and then follow that. Angela Davis lives about 5 or 6 doors down from me. For those of you who don't know who Angela Davis is, she's one of the founders of Black Panther, and she's had a heavy hand in kind of giving African Americans what they have to some extent today. Every time I see her, just something happens to me. that a woman from the age 14 spent her entire life trying to protect a certain community of people. That's a huge sacrifice, a huge commitment. Now I have a choice of watching Nicki Minaj or the choice of watching Angela Davis. Angela Davis has a hell of a more things to offer me than a 10-minute inspiration by Nicki Minaj. The other thing that you need to understand, the more mature your hero, initially you're going to hate yourself more because you feel so incompetent. And we'll talk about that when we get to Plato and Socrates. It's a great story. See, if Malcolm X was to walk here right now, he doesn't need to say anything. His presence will just embarrass you. You say, man, my life sucks. Why am I going to Laney? I should go fight some factory out there somewhere. Why? There is something about his presence that makes you feel small, pathetic. Those are the people you need to be around.